Good evening, everyone, and welcome to this edition of the Primetime Newscast in the English language on Canal International. I'm called Morinzi. We begin with our top stories. DOUALA City Council has begun demolishing houses described as death traps to Cameroonians. Buildings destroyed today were those constructed close to the collapsed building that killed over 40 people. Owners, according to construction experts from the DOUALA City Council, did not respect norms and could hardly brandish their building permits. And for some time now, insecurity has been the biggest threat or challenge to DOUALA City dwellers, with a majority of the population now living in the constant fear of the unknown. We took interest at New Bell, a neighborhood where insecurity is at an alarming rate. And the popularized a strange story of a supposed revenant clarification from the Blue Love Village and Public Health Minister. Those are major stories. Details right ahead. Good evening once more. The so much popularized story of a supposed revenant clarification from the Love Village and the Ministry of Public Health. Indeed, a family mistook a dying man for theirs at the Village of Love, situated at the Hospital in Yaoundé. Took care of him until he gave up the ghost. They carried the corpse, believing it was theirs. More on the story with our reporter, Beatrice Ngamo.
It was when the benevolent team of the Love Village at the Hospital went in search of mentally disturbed and errant persons on the streets of Yaoundé last April at the Messassi neighborhood that some 41 mentally ill persons were picked up that day. Among them, Lucas and Domo Esumba. At the Village of Love, they've been receiving treatment and other care, many of whom have been stable to return to their families or for the families to come for them. Family members for the various patients started streaming in, and his also came.
Le frère est arrivé quelques heures après. Et
his brother came later, and he was the one who recognized the agonized person and said he is his brother and is called Ndomo Lucas.
C'est son frère et il s'appelle Ndomo Luc.
The following day at dawn, the unconscious person gave up the ghost in the presence of a family member. Mistaken for Ndomo, the family accused the hospital for killing him, whereas the real person was enjoying his time at the Village of Love. Since no one came for him and he said he was capable of describing his home, he then directed the benevolent team to his family at the Nguso neighborhood.
C'est la famille qui les a insultés, qui a pris le corps de l'agonisant en nous disant que c'était.
It is the same family that insulted us, that took the corpse of the agonized saying it is Ndomo, and who lodged a complaint against the director of the Jamo Hospital.
That is how Lucas Ndomo Esumba, that fateful Saturday, was seen by his family and became the story of a man who died, was buried, and is back to life. Public Health Minister, on his part, has condemned the manner in which health institutions and their personnel have been falsely accused time and again, whereas their services are driven towards the good of the population.
Si les personnels de santé ne dorment pas au quotidien,
If helped, I have always said that each time you have a doubt or question on any functioning, come back and we will enlighten you.
Revenez vers nous et nous allons faire la lumière.
He equally reiterated that, henceforth, any such accusations, especially on the social media, against a hospital without proof, shall not go free. The population is therefore called upon to be more vigilant and careful in order not to be victim of such manipulation. 68-year-old Lucas Njomo Esomba is alive. He never died. The family made a mistake. Today, they've buried someone else in their compound. Cleansing, but imperative.
City experts, contractors as death traps for Cameroonians. Buildings destroyed today were those constructed close to the collapsed buildings, according to construction experts. And the DOUALA City Council did not respect any norms and could hardly brandish building permits. More in the following story.
Districts. Hardly a day goes by without news of 6 to 8 different forms of aggression registered. The population feels abandoned.
Avant ce meurtre qui s'est passé dernièrement sur le camion,
the incident where the young lady was killed is not the first one we have encountered. A man was killed here before our own eyes and laid in a gutter after some confrontations. We thought it will make authorities react, but we are still living in the same situation. We can't confront armed men with our bare hands.
Principal dit de la sécurité a été lui-même poursuivi.
I really think the quarter and blockheads have to collaborate with the youth who are trying to put in place the security at night. We are insecure here. According to the residents of the neighborhood, aggression has become a lifestyle. They call on the government to step up measures in combating insecurity in the area. Witnessing all forms of aggression is but normal in this neighborhood. We have been trying as young people of the neighborhood to put in security, but we equally need support from our quarter heads. It is not really easy in this area with aggressors. It has become a lifestyle. It's like we are on our own with no protection from our quarter heads. According to the population of this area, street lights and video cameras are necessary. They equally say collaboration between the chief of the quarter and population will contribute a lot in fighting reigning insecurity, which is caused by mostly strangers from Central Africa and Chad.
We'll come back to the story where the DOUALA City Council has begun demolishing structures described as death traps for Cameroonians. The buildings destroyed today were those constructed close to collapsed a building around Mobi Guinness that killed almost close to 40 persons. More in the following story. DOUALA City Council has started demolishing buildings constructed in rig zones. The demolition gala comes 1 week after a 4-story building collapsed, killing at least 40 persons. City Council caterpillars were angrily pulling down houses earmarked for demolition. Some of the buildings are those constructed close to the collapsed story building in Dogbong, precisely behind Mobi Guinness.
The other houses that they saw that they've built, and we can be secured. It is just a situation, madam, because my daughter died inside the destruction because of house they are not building well.
House owners watch helplessly as council caterpillars pull down their houses. This man is helpless as his house did not respect construction norms. Many inhabitants have described the demolition as timely. Some told me they were not surprised by the demolition after warnings from council authorities to quit.
I hear that they say when these things happen, they came, they look at the upstairs building, they cannot carry the houses they have to carry. They put all the red crosses.
Many who suspected the demolition might affect them were seen scrambling to remove their belongings from their homes to avoid unpleasant surprises. The City Council says it is the beginning of the zero-tolerance phase. Our actions fall within a vast campaign put in place by the city mayor to fight against urban disorder. City Council officials say they will continue with the demolition of houses described as death traps. And DOUALA city dwellers have frowned at the absence of deviation path for secondary parts in the city of DOUALA as the City Council embarks on major rehabilitation works on roads precisely that at Peka 14. The roads, according to the population, is causing enormous traffic. More in the following story. They can only cross through these roads completely blocked for rehabilitation works if they follow one single lane and also queue up blocked roads causing unbearable traffic with no deviation path. Have gradually become a painful way of life for those who live around Peka 14 and beyond. Crossing over to the rest of the town is seen as a nightmare. The current rehabilitation works have forced inhabitants to walk long distances, sometimes in mud and a slippery path, to get to their destination. Sometimes they don't even work. We don't know for how long works will last. This man tells me how he braves the block roads from Peka 17 right up to Bonanjo daily. He can hardly describe his sufferings. Everyone seems to be going through the torture and pain daily ever since rehabilitation work started. Be it pedestrians, motorcyclists, traders, they all suffer the horror of traffic jams in this area despite the improvised deviations. With no signposts, others hold it's difficult to identify deviation paths. There are no secondary roads. If you take the roads leading to Lokbeso, drivers are obliged to drive towards the mosque. Even there, you still experience traffic. The pain too is even more with those walking on foot. Believe me, there is just no pedestrian path since it has been occupied by traders. At least city council authorities would have demolished all those on pedestrian paths before engaging in such a project. Another problem are traders occupying pedestrian paths. The absence of secondary roads in neighborhoods or deviation path poses a serious threat to inhabitants each time roads are under construction in DOUALA. This often comes with unbearable traffic. Inhabitants want the authorities to rethink their strategies before engaging in road construction works that not only frustrates them but equally impedes the economic development of the city. And the production of accessories with beads, or in other words, beads works, keeps increasing in the nation's political capital, Yaoundé. Many people own stands and shops where they produce and sell these products, while some attest of joining this line of business to valorize their culture. Others are there for the
first place. African beads are far much more than accessories. Uniquely, they are said to represent the amazing vibrancy and beauty of Africa. They are keenly inspired by traditional arts and are grounded in culture. Today, moving around the city of Yaoundé, one spots a good number of stands containing accessories made of beads, such as necklace, headpiece, bangles, bracelets, handbags, slippers, baskets. The options are endless. For those who have embarked in this line of work, their reasons are varied. Some inspired by the love.
It is very exciting.
To others, they are motivated for business purposes.
My first experience was bracelets I produced for my child's birthday. I made them and distributed them in packets to children. Their parents loved them and commanded theirs. I told myself it could be a business, and I started.
In Cameroon, there are not many job opportunities. We do this to earn money.
Clients on the paths who are fascinated by the work of art purchase the accessories not only for beauty purposes, but also to valorize their culture. Be it for prestige or royalty.
The late chairman of the Social Democratic Front Party, Nijon Frundi, has been elevated to the rank of Grand Cordon of the National Order of Merit. The posthumous decoration was accorded the 82-year-old, a long-time rival of the BR regime, was announced during his burial in his native Babatu village that was over the weekend. More with our reporter, Saleh Sherifa.
After much hue and cry, the chairman of the Social Democratic Front SDF party has finally been laid to rest in his native Babatu village in Santa subdivision in the Northwest region. The mortal remains of the opposition leader Nijon Frundi were buried last Saturday following an official ceremony decreed by the head of state represented by Vice Prime Minister, Secretary General of the ruling CPDM party.
To the deity of Grand Cordon of the Cameroon Order of Merit.
Though an Anglophone, the late politician and his party refused to join the current quest for separation reason, while separatists also decreed 3 days of lockdown to frustrate his funeral, but the SDF has promised to maintain her stance of federation as the form of the state.
To my comrade, let us keep the flame burning in the spirit of unity and cohesion. Farewell, Chairman. Rest in peace, our icon and hero.
He was a man of dignity, a man of honor, and a man of integrity. In fact, he was a person who was as simple like any other person. He did not show himself like the kind of bosses. He did leadership. He was a leader.
A mixed crowd of villagers, SDF militants, other political parties made it to the funeral ground.
In all that. Secondly, he was a sociable somebody. He used to take part in all activities, especially when it goes on to a new one. And therefore, it was very necessary for us to pay him back.
Since last Saturday, Nijan Frundi lies beside his wife Rose Ndi, who died over a decade ago.
Isosha of Limbe are the current champion of the 2023 National Interpools that are rounded up this Sunday in Yaoundé. They outplayed Bafmen United by 2-0 to grab the victory. The two teams from the northwest and southwest regions of Cameroon qualifying for the final hold already validated their tickets to the Elite Tour Championship. More with Haisencha.
For 15 days by the 10 regional representatives at the National Interpools competition, without losing a single game throughout the tournament, Isosha of Limbe were crowned champions on Sunday, July 30th, with a 2-0 victory over Bafmen United, a display of quality portraying high improvement of the different regional leagues.
All the 10 teams that came to the competition won at least a match. That shows you the level of the competition was very high.
Equally with the talents that we have discovered so far, telling us that we have enormous work to do as far as the detection of talent is concerned. So far, so good. We know that our various categories are leaking when it comes to talents, and this is an art.
The fanfare also gave a special touch to the competition.
The ambience that we had in the stadiums, we saw teams like Volcan of Noon, the kind of popular support that they had. You saw teams like Bafmen United with this fan club always there to push the team to victory. I think that all in all, the organization, I should say, was near perfect because there was no incident that was recorded.
And with the Northwest flag bearers, Bafmen United, grabbing their ticket for Elite 2 Championship, the cry for a stadium in Bamenda remains a major concern.
Bafmen came from nowhere to be at the finals, and with their playing style, I think it is just the right moment for the authorities to think of, facilitating or fast-tracking the building of that football stadium in the northwest region of Cameroon. It is very crucial because I believe that that stadium will come with a lot of improvement, come with a lot of engagement, especially for teams in the northwest region.
With 5 goals and overall best player of the tournament, a product of the National Football Academy, Anafo.
And that report brings us to the end of this edition of the Primetime Newscast in the English language on Canal International. Thanks so much for watching, And coming up next is The Brief with Lil Pishua. So we'll be back same time tomorrow. Good night.